struggles, especially in the U.S. I call to order the Lake Havasu Unified School District Governing Board meeting for February 13th, 2025. Here. Here.
Here. Here.
We're going to have a moment of silence, prayer, and private reflection. Amen. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated. Good evening. I want to welcome all of you to tonight's governing board meeting. We have a lot of exciting things on tonight's agenda. Just some information for you tonight as each agenda item is before you. Once the board is done speaking, we will open up for calls to the public on each item. That is included for those of you potentially that want to speak to an agenda item that you did not sign up. So know that will be available. It will be 3 minutes per speaker. If there's a lot of speakers on an agenda, we potentially could limit that to a certain amount for and a certain amount against. Also tonight, we want to welcome a dignitary in the House, Arizona State Representative Leo Biasucci is with us tonight. So, Representative, welcome. And now, we'll get to it. Our first tonight is 2.1, Spotlights and Recognition with LHCA Carol Nowakowski.
Directors, staff, and community. This week, the House and Senate Education Committee has been very busy. I have 4 that I picked out to share with you, so I've already given it to you. House Bill 2169, we are following everything in it, but if passed, if you turn to the back page, I've highlighted, instructs the governing board for a school district with a student count of more than 5,000 to provide the public with a live feed of each governing board meeting. We used to do that in the past during COVID and such, and when we stopped, I will tell you, every time we have a board meeting, even tonight. Is it going to be live? No, it's not live, but it is something that I know our community wants and would appreciate. The next one is SB 1427. This one I love. Requires Arizona schools to require each full-time administrative employee of the school to provide a classroom instruction at least once per school year as a substitute teacher. Outlines exemptions from the requirement to substitute teach at least once per school year. I know even tomorrow our site is short 2 subs, and we're always searching, so that would be amazing. I know sometimes we do have some principals and directors that have been in our classrooms, but that's a requirement. The next thing is 1472. This one, I think you all need to be aware of, is it requires the school district governing board to prepare a budget, not just for 1 year, but 3 fiscal years, rather than to immediately follow the current year. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that that's out there. We'll be following it for you just to keep it feel good. And then the last one, which is a concern, and not just a concern, it's not that it's a horrible thing, it's just it's time and requirement of our teachers. So right now, K-5 is required to get a literacy endorsement, and this is now mandating that applies the literacy endorsement requirement to certified teachers who provide literacy instruction in a special education program or setting in any grade level. So currently it's K-5, and so this will push it all the way through K-12. The main concern always is fortunately right now with our letters, it's being provided by ADE, so we do have the grant, so hopefully that will be offered during this, but it's a 2-year commitment so on our staff. So just keep that in mind if it does pass that your staff is working really hard to get that. Also, I'm following, as always, Prop 123. There are 2 bills. There's one in the Senate and one in the House, SCR 1015 and HCR 1047. Neither have hit a committee yet, and it's my understanding there will be a few changes before it does. But once it hits, I plan on a letter writing party. You'll be doing you hear from me often. So, and the other committee members that will be reading and seeing it, that we need to get it on that ballot. As we know, with the sunset, there is enough funds to take us into the next year, but as of right now, the following year, we don't know what's going to happen. And then I want to finish off by, I sincerely thank you, President Rose and Board Member Ramon, for the collaboration on our 25-26 compensation package. We truly appreciate the time you took to listen to our staff needs and concerns, and I look forward to the agenda item at 6.4 passing. This is going to be the beginning of an unmeasurable impact for our district, our community, but more importantly, our students. This gives us the opportunity for our principals and our district to attract and retain quality staff needed. And so, again, thank you.
All right, moving on, item 3.1, we will now open up for calls to the public. Leanna.
Good evening. My name is Tamara Weaver, and I have 3 children, 12, 9, and 7, currently enrolled in my Havasu School District. I couldn't have been more excited to read in the newspaper that our school board is considering a policy to ban artificial food dyes from our schools. Aside from being a parent, I am also a mental health therapist. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the states of Arizona, California, and Nevada. I've worked in the mental health field for over 22 years, and I worked for county mental health for 20 years. After retiring, I now run my own private practice and consulting business. I can tell you in my experience in the mental health field that unfortunately many children can often be diagnosed with conditions such as ADHD and given psychiatric medications unnecessarily. There are countless families I have encountered that when I ask them to consider eliminating food dyes from their child's diet are shocked at the major improvements in their child, including improved attention and focus, reduced behavioral outbursts and aggression, improved sleep, control over their emotions, and less anxiety. The problem is that food dyes are in many foods that are marketed towards children, such as cereals, snacks, chips, cookies, etc. These foods are also, though many people may not be aware, are not always colored. Twinkies have red 40. Chocolate pudding has red 40. Marshmallows have blue food dye. Tortillas have yellow food dye, etc. Many adults here may be wondering, well, I had the same foods when I was little and I didn't have any problems. Well, actually, you did not, right? Because the foods that we had when we were little did not have these toxic artificial food dyes and chemicals in them. Unfortunately, we have an incompetent Food and Drug Administration in our country. For example, food dye number 3 was outlawed for makeup in 1990 because it was known to cause cancer, but the FDA still allowed it in our food that we eat, right? Up until last month, they finally outlawed food dye number 3 due to pressure from parents and some wonderful legislation that went through. Unfortunately, that legislation only applied to red dye number 3 and not red 40 or the many other toxic food dyes. I'm happy that we have RFK working on this issue in Washington, D.C., and I feel that there are going to be many policy changes that are going to come down regarding food dye. And I feel that our district is going to be ahead of the problem by working on this. Other countries do not allow these chemicals in their food. Big Food Corporation makes 2 versions of the same snacks, one for America with toxic chemicals.
13 seconds.
Okay. My children personally have reactions to these food dyes, and I have not expected others to cater to them, but some couple things you might want to keep in mind.
Go. Thank you. Welcome. Would you help welcome our students tonight?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the Governing Board. My name is Molly Sevick, and I am a very involved sophomore at LHHS. I hold multiple board positions in service and career-based clubs, and I'm a student government class vice president. I am also a very proud member of our school and city's youth advisory council. I am a member of our school's Lighthouse team and our next club president. My passion for our school and community has taught me that civic involvement for students is more important now than ever. We want to serve as a spokespeople for our peers, and we're here to do exactly that today. We look forward to working and collaborating with you and to have the opportunity to be here with you tonight. Thank you. You really need to talk on me. Good evening, President Rose, members of the Governing Board, and the public. My name is Macy Stoutner, and I've been a student in the Havasu Unified School District since I was a little knight. I'm now currently a freshman in LHHS. I firmly believe that it's important to be involved in the school and community. So I'm a part of Havasu Youth Advisory Council. I'm the Vice President of Student Council's Class of 2028, along with the member of Student Athlete Leadership Team, or SALT. I'm a track and swim athlete and a member of our LHHS Lighthouse team. Tonight, my peers and I are here to build a strong relationship with this new governing board and the public. We're really excited at the opportunity to work with adults who would like to be connected to the students that they serve.
Good evening, Governing Board members and community. My name is Elijah Aston. I am a student government president of the class of 2027. Molly, Macy, and I are here tonight as ambassadors for the student body. We know how powerful having connected student voices for bringing solutions forward. We are in discussions with our administration and involved teachers and advisors with the goal of building a relationship with the school board so that you might hear the ideas and concerns of those who interact with the school daily, the students. We are collaborating with the Lighthouse team to use the Leader in Me platform to expand our student voices. We sincerely look forward to being a team with this board in the future, and we'll do our best to represent the needs and hopes of our student body. Thank you.
Thank you. That's incredible. That made my night. Item 4.1, consent agenda.
Before we go on the consent agenda, I would like to move item 4.6 to 4.13 so that we can discuss it separately. I move to accept the remaining items of the consent agenda.
Second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So I'll make a motion to approve item 4.13, which would be it's from Human Resources, and it's our at-will work agreements and contracts for 25-26.
I'll second.
So the only reason,
Go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The only reason I wanted to pull it out for discussion was because there have been some changes to the contracts that we're offering our employees, and I just wanted to make sure that they didn't get lost in the shuffle. There's nothing bad about any of these changes. Like I said, I just wanted to highlight them. So we are keeping our $2,500 penalty for resigning before the contract term expires, but we are adding some additional language that emphasizes reputational harm to our district and opportunity cost to our district. The second change I wanted to point out was that there is an increase in our salary reduction notifications. So our district retains the ability to reduce salaries due to a budget shortfall, and that is how it's been in the past as well, but now we are providing a 20-day notice before implementing that. So that's a benefit to employees, although we never want to have to use that in the first place. The third change is our resignation process. So before, when an employee resigns, we ask them for a reason for their resignation. And they were certainly free to leave that blank, but we did ask for it. In our contracts for the 25-26 year, we will just be asking, do you accept the contract or not? You are still welcome to provide a reason for your resignation, but we're not including a space for it on the form. The fourth thing is furloughs. This is another thing that it's standard in employment contracts, but we never want to have to use them. But we have put in language to impose up to 7 unpaid furlough days. And then the fifth and final thing is that there are changes to sick leave and paid time off in the sense that before they were spelled out in your contract, and now they will be governed by board policy, which board policy can change mid-year. Prior, when those sick leave days and paid time off days were listed out in your contract, we weren't able to change them at all mid-year without reopening contract negotiations. This language leaves room for them to change mid-year without contract negotiations. Again, it's not the kind of thing that we would do. The only reason we would do it would be to, let me put it differently. Ideally, the only reason we would ever do that is for the employee's benefit, never for their detriment. But it does leave, the language does leave that possibility open. So again, I don't think any of these changes are negative, but I wanted you to be aware of them.
Is there any, I'm going to open it up. Is there discussion from the board, and we'll open it up to the public first. At this time, I will close discussion from the board and open it up for anyone that would like to discuss this item. All right. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Moving on, item 5.1, business services, 26 athletic participation fees. Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, as part of the discussion item tonight, Just prior to the passage of the voter-approved M&O override in 2016, athletic participation fees were as high as $800 to participate in high school athletic programs. Lake Havasu Unified School District Number 1 currently charges up to $200 to participate in sports programs at Thunderbolt Middle School and $400 to participate in sports programs at the Lake Havasu High School. The participation fee is collected each year. Sport programs rely on funding sources such as tax credit, gifts and donations, auxiliary, and maintenance and operations to provide athletic opportunities for students. Summaries of revenue, beginning fund balance, and expenditures for fiscal year 24 are attached to the discussion item.
Now we'll open up for discussion from the board. So this is an item that I have brought before the board this evening. And talking with parents that have their children in sports, they had expressed an interest. They would like to see that fee lowered, especially whenever our students are still paying for other things. So it's not a one fee that covers your uniforms and not all of those things. And as we know, the economies went up, things were tight for families, and we want to do what is best for the families of this district. So I brought this before the board to discuss. In speaking with the athletic director, he was definitely open to us discussing this and very excited for whatever and supportive of whatever we decide tonight. So I'd like to open up. Matt, I know you have some information.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just looking at these, so if I understand this correctly, we are still in the black, $735,000 at the end of the year. If I understand this correctly.
Correct. That would be the beginning fund balance for this fiscal year.
And this is for our athletic department.
Correct. For both Thunderbolt and the high school.
And so, to me, sports and athletics growing up was one of the best parts of the school. In fact, it's probably the only part I liked in high school. And I know that's for many boys and many students as well going through this. So when I hear that $400 mark, to me, I know there are families that may be prohibited. And so I would like the board to put it on the agenda item for us to cut it in half. I know to take it, wipe it completely out would be the goal, but I think it would be wise to cut it in half, see how that affects the budget going forward, and make a determination after that.
I totally agree. I think this is something that's important, and we want to be able to open up opportunities for all families, for their children, to be able to play sports. We don't ever want a student or a family to feel that their child cannot participate in sports in our district because they can't afford to pay the money. And so I just want us to be able to really hone in on this and do what is right for the student. At the end of the day, we want to be able to promote athletics and kids be able to love sports and build relationships and friendships and do all the things that come with sports. And so, yeah, I definitely support cutting it in half.
And it's per child, not family.
Correct.
So if you have 4 children, it's $1,600.
Okay. And Mr. Murray, could you explain, so when a family pays the $400, would you be able to explain tonight where exactly we as a district direct that money?
So depending on how they pay, if they pay via tax credit, it goes directly to the program that they specify. So some individuals will be very specific and say, I want my money to go to football at the high school. So the tax credit program is set up to where we can restrict those funds directly to that specific program. We have a lot of people from the community that come in and say, I really don't have a preference. I want it to go to athletics. So then it goes to what's called an all-no preference or all athletics account. So then that gives the school site the ability to then determine where they need to use those funds in the all athletic program. So some people don't elect tax credit. They don't have a tax liability and they just want to come in and pay the fee. And so that would go into auxiliary. Then there are those within the community and even through our booster programs where they will just make a donation. So that will go into the gifts and donations fund. Depending on what their preference is, we can restrict it down so that those monies are used only for that specific preference.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any other discussion from the board?
I really do think that'd be nice. I mean, I know there was a time even I had a hard time to be able to pay for some of the sports. So I'm for it. I'm in favor at least of discussing it. I do want to make sure that we think through all the consequences, both intended and unintended. It does sound like our sports program, it does actually cost us quite a bit of money to provide those sports to students. So there's travel. A lot of our teams participate in sports that are in Phoenix, and so they travel often for games. Most of our coaches are are teachers, and so if they are gone for the day for a game, then they have to find substitute partners. So I just want to make sure that we're thinking through all the ramifications before we approve something, and also thinking of maybe additional funding sources or where that money could be made up from. I did have one idea was suggested to me by someone else that because we charge facility use fees, like for instance to have us do heat to use our field, I'm not even sure if that can be redirected into an athletics fund, but if it can, that might be something that we consider in whole or in part.
Yeah, I saw an email here from Mr. Zach of Loya, and I understand that there is higher costs with us being in a rural district, but I don't think we should pass that on to the family. Right? I think sports and athletics and physical activity is so important to our children that providing that extra cost at the burden of the district is valuable. We don't have the benefit of being in Phoenix and being able to do those things. So we as the district should be taking care and making sure our children have those opportunities. So I definitely think that's a valuable expenditure and then to not pass that on to the students. I think it's worth it.
And to compare where we are with other districts that surround us, this was provided by our athletic director. Kingman School District, Mojave Valley School District do not charge students a fee. Parker charges $1. Then some regionals, Buckeye Union, $50 individual cap, $100 and $150 family cap. Willow Canyon, $150 per athlete and per sport with a $300 cap. Sunrise Mountain, $100 per sport, $200 individual cap, and a $400 family cap. And then some others, Tempe Union, $50. Gilbert and Higley charge between $150 to $150, and Flagstaff Union, $200. So that just puts us in comparison. In my opinion, we seem to be on the higher end of the districts around the state, and would definitely like to see us come on the lower end. So.
And one question I have is when looking at this, so I'd like to maybe keep this as a discussion item for next week before we move to a vote on it and making a decision next month. Next month, thank you. And do it as if, okay, we cut it in half. How much is that actually changing the dollar value here? And, what is that going to reduce? The $735 to $550 to $650? Where is it? And then I'd be interested in your opinion on how black does it have to be? How much in the positive revenue do you have to be? I mean, we're not, it's good to have money in the bank, but we want this athletic program and these funds to be going towards our children. So having almost $1 million in the athletics going forward each year, I'd like to hear where you're comfortable with that, where maybe our athletic director is comfortable with that, and really see what the difference is. Okay, we cut this in half and it only drops us $100,000. That's something we can eat.
So if I can point out up here, you'll notice that there's no fund balance or revenue in the maintenance and operations line. So right now we rely on auxiliary gifts and donations and tax credit as the primary funding source. Maintenance and operations, which is our general fund, which 85% of teacher salaries and benefits come out of maintenance and operations. You can see that M&O is acting as the absorbent. So revenue is really only $428,000 that comes into the programs based off of that $400 or the $100, $200 at Thunderbolt. And then all of the expenses, maintenance and operations, is filling that gap in the tune of, in this fiscal year, $321,000. That's been fairly consistent over the years in the $300,000 range. So You'll notice that travel is one of the big expenses, definitely top three. And as Mr. Zampona pointed out in one of his emails, he shared the fact that most of our competitions happen in West Phoenix. So typically 50% of the games are at home, 50% are on the road. So we are traveling 50% of the time, sending a bus or two per game down to West Phoenix, whereas the competition in West Phoenix, they're out of their 50% of their games, if they have 10 games, one of those games is up here. The other 4 away games are in West Phoenix. So they're kind of in their neighborhood, so they're not traveling 200 miles each way like we do for 50% of the time. So that's where those costs just really begin to just skyrocket. That's the hard part for where we live geographically. But any reduction, I would say that you're going to see a reduction in revenue because the fee is cut. And then
I'd like to see what that number is. So, because then we can make that determination of this is the amount of students that are paying this fee, this is the total we're getting from it, this is the total we're losing if we cut it out. Once we have that number, we can look at the budget and say, this is doable or this is not. And if it comes to the point where the gas funds and those things counterbalance, we may have to look at something, maybe capping it to the family cap, the household cap, something like that to figure that out. But I think we can move that to next meeting's discussion.
I can get total number of participants and then calculate it against the $200 for high school, $100 for Thunderbolt, and then that should tell us exactly what our revenue is going to be.
Fantastic.
Well, and just a question for Mr. Houston, but are you thinking of the 200 top being per individual or per family?
And that number, obviously, I'd like to see where the numbers are. Because, like, in this, the Sunrise Mountain, 100 per sport, 200 individual cap, or a 400 family cap. So, something along that line, I'd like to see the numbers to see where we need to fit in there. But I would like I'd like to get that number before we really make an establishment on how the fee schedule work.
That's the scenario that stood out to me the most, too, that made the most sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board? All right, moving on to action items. Tonight we are going to start with action item 6.1.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. First reading of model policies will be presented for review, discussion, and possible action. The trust proposes style revisions to the following policies in order to improve clarity. This includes punctuation and numbering. Policy 1-301, Rules of Order. Policy 5-204, Students with Disabilities, Procedural Safeguards, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. Policy 5-408, Hazing Prevention. The trust proposes style revisions and a substantive change to Policy 5-203, high school districts are now required to inform students and their parents, legal guardians, of the anticipated date of graduation at least 1 year prior to the anticipated date, and are required to begin transition services for special education students in the freshman year. The trust proposes to divide the procedures implementing Policy 5-306 into 2 parts, one for student suspensions and one for student expulsions. The governing board proposes procedure 3-301.A1, safe and healthy school lunches, to ensure the health and safety of all students by prohibiting the use of certain additives and ingredients in school lunches that are known to pose potential health risks.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Tonight we are going to discuss the safe and healthy school lunches. And this is something that I am extremely passionate and excited about. And whenever I've seen that my colleague at the State House began working on this bill, I reached out to Representative Diaz-Ducci and said, hey, I want to work with you on this because I would love to do this in our district. This is a district that loves kids, and we want to provide better food, better lunches. And luckily for us, the owner of our company, our food provider, Tarhar, is someone that is also a big proponent of this and a champion for this as well. And so tonight we are going to have a couple of speakers on this issue. I am honored to welcome Arizona State Representative Leo Blasucci to the mic to discuss this bill tonight.
First of all, I just want to say thank you guys so much for letting me be here today. President Rose, thank you for reaching out. You got Bill, you reached out and said, look, how do we get our district involved before any bills pass through the legislature? And you had enough passion to decide because obviously we share that. And I think a lot of people in this room, the first speaker today spoke about it and why this is so important. And I think the big thing I want to talk about is how, I can't blame my parents, I can't blame a lot of people in this room because for years before this, we just didn't know. We didn't know what these products were doing. We didn't know what these chemicals were doing for our body, for our children's body. But now we do. Now the science is there. The bill that I'm presenting, that I presented past the Education Committee 10 years ago last week, which is a fantastic bipartisan support. And the list that we created with this bill, this list of probably 50 items long. I don't think just the ones that we listed are the only ones that we know are toxic, so we wanted to make sure we started somewhere. We wanted to make sure we started with the ones that have the data to back up. It's very important for me to make sure that we're not just jamming everything because of what is going on right now. We want to have the scientific data and proof behind it with all these items too. So my LBC and my bill 2164, all of those have the data to back why it's going to be in our food. And now we're not talking about children, we're talking about food in general. We're talking about these things we're doing understand from causing cancer, ADHD. And so when you think about that, you think about our children are consuming these items. Obviously, we need to talk about questions for living in it. If we have all these problems that we're seeing in our months of youth, whether it's diabetes, under the roof, or ADHD, is it honestly a direct impact because of these items? And the data is you can't refuse it. There's a reason why Europe is saying every single one of these things on the list. Because they have done the data and they said, even if it's not 100% conclusive, they said, look, there are issues with this test continuing in the lab. We're going to put the protein, we're going to remove it now, we'll take the time to study it, and if it's good enough, we'll put it back. Here in the States, we do these factors. A great example is the stuff that was left there for Red 3. A family 35 years ago, because they said it's not cancer on your skin, and you put it on your skin, but they left it in a food to consume. When you think about what Red 3 in, it's from candy to some cereals. And it's interesting because when you go to Europe, and anybody who goes to Europe, I'm sure people in the room have, I'm sure it comes to you guys. When you realize when you eat the pizza and the pasta and the wine and the ice cream, you feel great. And you don't have that feeling when you do that here. And then when you look at the labels, you realize that they don't have anything changed in their product. And there's a reason for that. And so I'm excited to say that we are moving forward. So we said it passed from 0 to go to 4 for a vote. We took the time to call the school district that was in the road set up, and we spoke to the superintendent. We have, I believe it's the food manager. What was her name?
Ms. Tate, please hear the food manager.
Great, thank you. Jumped on the phone, and the exciting part is when the Arizona Department of Education, they're heavily involved, heavily in their sport, and they really run through these food lists from these companies. And they say, look, these items are not in the water ourselves. So this is not something that should be difficult to do. You can do it. And it's not a given. The great part is we're not saying, look, I remember the first time I just saw it, and I told it that we were not going to talk or some stage of energy. I said, the more food item, and one of the districts is working up either. And I told that on the interview, I said, every children is not going to meet me. They got to know how yet. So it's a little bit late. But I think the point here is we can make these things food better. Yeah. You have companies in Italy and in Europe that are making this food with vegetable oil already. No one's doing that right now. Why are we not doing this? Yeah. And the product is on the market now. So is going to be like. The great news is, there's how we cover it. During COVID, they have a program called Try It Local that was developed by the federal government. This money is literally designed for you to buy from local farmers markets, stores, less processed. That was the goal of this fund. Arizona brought in $13 million for the next 3 years for those dollars that every school can utilize. I believe we are utilizing here in the school district, which is fantastic. The reason I love this is because this now allows the school district to say, okay, this is our meal plan. We're going to try to keep it clean, keep it right. We can go and use our food supplier, or we can go to Walmart, or we can go to farmers market, or we can go wherever we need to go to get these foods. That also helps the community in my opinion. We're talking about now finding more local farming markets and other options. So this is such a great thing. It's super exciting to see that this push is happening. Our big news is that we're putting together, which is really great news, I think, for everybody that's behind this push. And so it's pretty exciting, and I hope you guys continue to move forward and really be the first school district to say, look, we're going to go ahead and game here. Because we have the legislature, things take time, the law is going to be probably July. So I'm super proud of you guys doing something like that, and I hope you guys can really keep the lead and make me proud. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Top 1, 2, 3 is extremely important. I know I've talked about that, Carol. We have a push in that. I don't know if it's the news, we're talking about $10,000 permanent raise for our teachers. So now it's going to pass. I know it's going to pass. We have to vote. I voted for these kids every year, so we actually have to vote for that. But now that it's into the ballot, we're just trying to fine-tune it to make sure that our staff is being taken care of in Arizona. And I just want to point out something really quickly. So as a legislator, we have something to do always about the community, your district, who you represent. I always brag about the best community of the district. Not just because I came from this district, I was able to go to school, high school. I love this place, I love this attitude. But we do things right? When we give raises, we give it to the teachers. We don't leave it somewhere else. We provide health care. We do so many things right that so many other schools are not doing. And so I just want to give them a shout out for what you've done. This school board, previous school board, this has been just a model for a lot of other districts to say, how does have to do that? I'll never forget the superintendent previously, Hoffman, she was, wait a minute, you guys have free health care for your teachers, and you give them raises, and you still have all these, and you still have kindergarten, and you still have what? They couldn't believe that you guys were able to figure this out. And so I just want to say thank you guys so much for all you do. Every teacher in here, every administrator, everybody in the school board that's involved, you guys have been super proud. And I'm proud to say that I would represent you guys well done, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to invite our food service supervisor, Ms. Tate, to the mic.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. A few weeks ago, Board President Rose asked me to analyze our food purchases considering Representative Biasucci's upcoming bill. I reviewed hundreds of product data sheets for school meals, adult meals, and our catering. The good news, over 98% of our purchases met our high standards for school meals. Reduced fat, sodium, sugar, and are all whole grain rich. Our poultry items are all natural, hormone-free. Almost all the produce we purchase is grown in the USA. When available, we purchase local-grown organic, and most of it's grown in Arizona. We've even incorporated Arizona-grown grass-fed beef into our menus. During my review, I did find some items, less than 2%, that contain the ingredients identified in Representative Biasucci's bill. No items contain potassium bromate, propylene, paraben, or brominated vegetable oil. However, one item contained titanium dioxide, which is a whitening agent found in powdered sugar. Due to this finding, we will no longer purchase that product. We've also identified Lucky Charms, Fruit Loops, blueberry Pop-Tarts, dill pickles, and the strawberry flavored milk. These items are part of the
Everybody
school.
parks it for us.
So did Miss let's see here. These items are part of a school meal and contain a couple of the dyes ingredients identified in Representative Biasucci's bill. As part of the high school snacks and a la carte offered, whole grain low-fat Cheetos, Doritos, a reduced sugar orange ice cream bar, and the rehydration sports drinks are all identified to contain ingredients in Representative Biasucci's bill. Due to these findings, we are actively seeking better alternatives to these products. School food service strictly adheres to all federal state regulations that require mandated levels of calories per grade group, whole grains, sodium, sugar, and fat limits in all of our offerings. This new district policy and upcoming legislation will be no different. We will continue to review nutrition and specification labels to identify any items that contain the listed ingredients identified in Representative Biasucci's bill. I was just notified today, after all the pressure on some of our local manufacturers, that Shamrock Foods is reformulating its strawberry milk to remove the dye.
Everybody's happy now.
Yeah. Let us all demand better from these manufacturers. Together, we can push for real change.
Thank you. All right, before discussion, we will take motion.
I'll move to approve the plan.
A second. All right, now we will open for discussion. All good. At this time, we would love to give anybody in the room that would like to speak to this item. Man that was cut off by the, now's your time. Come on up. Sounds right.
Okay. All right. So many people tag me on social media to come today, so I don't allow my kids to have anything at all. I have them bring their own snacks for class parties. If it's somebody's birthday, they have their own organic treats. But there's a couple of things I think you guys need to think about is, one, the school nurse. The medicine that they give has recording, the Tylenol, the ibuprofen. I know that's something totally different, just maybe something to think about for the future. I have my own dye-free ibuprofen that I leave in the nurse's office for my kids. And when they have like popsicle outer pop parties, there is dye-free outer pop. There's also Simply Doritos and Cheetos in case you want the same manufacturer makes them without food dye. They're called Simply. Okay, sorry. So I just wanted to add that I believe that the school district will have less behavioral problems, improved concentration and focus in the students, which will result in better testing scores and better student outcomes for all of the students. So I'm just very happy that you guys are leading the way and very happy of who I voted for. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion from the public? Jeff Cross, come on up.
I want to thank you and you for bringing and these things for the hard work and for Robert Kennedy Jr. for bringing this stuff, the national momentum it needs. So most of what we're talking about is really a manufacturing, a national manufacturing problem. And Mr. Biasucci said, Taher, as you learned with your phone call from Bruce, is a company started by a crazy man who loves food and loves stuff. And in the early 1980s, he was sick of working for the standard contract food. And so we're a chef-driven company, and we want to be on the front edge of this sort of initiative. One of the benefits we have here is that we're on a cost-reimbursable arrangement so that what the district puts before us we do. we're the management company, and that's it. We don't necessarily provide expertise to make that happen. So we don't use any of these additives in your list or any others that I know of other than sort of salt and sugar and fumes in our production and recipes locally. We have found, as I said, a very small number that are in manufactured General Mills cereals, Thomas, and sports drinks. So we have removed and stopped purchase already of all the items we found, including Lucky Charms, which is going to make some students mad at me. And we're running out whatever small stock we had. We run on a sort of a weekly turnover, so I believe that we will be able to reach the first milepost by spring break. So eliminating it from all breakfast and lunches. The other milepost, the 2027 milepost, is the much harder one, and that is the popular chips, sports drinks for athletes. The other wall we're sandwiched against, which Anna mentioned, is the federal Smart Snack program. So I took the Simply and I took the Annie's, which were suggested, and I put them in the calculator, and they are not overly rich. They have way too much sodium and saturated fat, so they're not compliant. And everything we sell, whether it's a la carte, but all those items are only a la carte, so they do not use school funds. They're specifically designed, and we specifically have to price them. So everything that goes into that person's transaction, the labor, the cost of goods, the storage, everything is in that price. We sometimes get people angry when our prices are higher than Circle K. So that doesn't use the subsidized money. We will continue to work on that. I had a wonderful meeting with one of Bruce's sons, who's our head of procurement today, and our head of dietetics and nutrition, who are fast at work contacting our larger supply network and working on these problems. So, and if it comes to the point where we make that decision where we're just not going to have long lunch, we'll have baked potato chips, something without the dice, and that's what we'll do. We're so gung-ho for this, and I know Bruce spoke with you about his mission and his belief that this change in administration is going to lead to nothing but good for our program and your program. So we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President, Jeff Chris.
Yeah.
So during this process, we've had several meetings. Representative Yasuchi had that meeting with you as well. But, in a separate meeting between Chef Chris and Ms. Cake, they pointed out a practice that they developed not too long ago, but before this conversation even started to even come to light. Can you just share? It wasn't really the most popular thing, but it really made me proud of, not that I'm a proud guy, but it just made me happy and pleased that Taher and our people are trying to be forward thinkers. So could you just share what you did with Green Eggs and Ham is coming up again? But can you just share, again, it wasn't the most popular thing, but it was forward thinking and definitely ahead of this conversation. So can you just share what you did to
So, I inherited this, and I'm probably its biggest enemy in terms of the food side of it. But Green Eggs, and I wear the cat in the hat costume, and I go around to the schools and we serve Green Eggs and Ham. And there were all sorts of problems with it when I inherited it. And as we were coming back out of COVID, I had an opportunity to sort of rethink it and redesign it. And so it was green food dyeing eggs, and it was ham, turkey ham, and so we really thought through, well, what is the best process for this? So there are, of course, vegetable purees and vegetable-based powders that can color this stuff. And then we also switched to half a green egg. So the portion size we have, we make half of it green, which the kids don't really want, but they get, it's all about trying new things. And then we do half the scrambled egg without the green egg. So it was that
Yeah, but just a substitute for the green dye, you use spinach or something, or some type of, to color it green.
Yeah.
Is it natural,
It does look different, but
wasn't the most phenomenal, but again, I think that it was kind of nice to see in all of these conversations that have been had since then, that we have people here that are trying to be forward thinking well before this conversation even started.
And I want to brag on her. So Representative Biasucci and I had the great honor of attending, along with my wife, Crystal, the MAHOG inaugural ball in D.C. It was packed, and the owner of this wonderful group was there. We didn't get to meet him, but he is very passionate about this. So I've invited him to the table, and I just want to share with the board what that looks like. Is the Tahar family is coming together with Lake Havasu Unified for us as a district to set the standard across the nation and to really be the district that says, we've done this and now you can too. And as the president of this board, that is our vision for this board as a team, is that moving forward that we are setting standards and examples for what school districts can look like and achieve when people come together in unity and lay down our opinions and differences and say we want what is best for kids. And so tonight, as the president of this board, I am honored that I'm almost 99% sure that we will be the first school district in the United States of America to make this policy. So thank you. Thank you. All right, bring it back to board discussion.
It's just crazy hearing this. I'm so proud that we're going to be able to do this. It's like deja vu, though, because when we were running, Matt, this is all we talked about. Like, it's finally happening. So I'm proud about this.
Yeah, it's a great night. All right.
Well, go ahead.
So, first of all, thank you for Representative Biasucci. I think it was really smart to frame this discussion in terms of the ingredients and aspects that you don't want to see. I feel like if you have 10 different people with social process teams, you probably have 10 different answers. This helps us center. I just realized my mic was off. This helps us center our discussion around specific ingredients, and if we have this agreement, we can pinpoint the source of that disagreement instead of squabbling it within board choice. I did have a couple questions because I was trying to look up each of these specific ingredients. I have no problem with all of the dyes being listed. I found a source for that. This was from the International Journal of Occupational and Environmental Health, but it said online U.S. approved dyes raise health concerns of varying degrees. I found literature to support the elimination of brominated vegetable oil, and actually the FDA did ban that. It's been banned since July of 2024. I found literature to support the elimination of potassium bromate. It's linked to nephrotoxicity and mutagenic effects. The only thing I couldn't find two citations for two of the ingredients. And, it's kind of one of those things like I just might not have access to the right subscriptions because they say the lies are free, but the truth is sometimes behind a paywall. So
That's good. The newspaper will quote you tonight. On the paywall of the newspaper.
Yeah. But the two ingredients that I couldn't find support for were titanium dioxide and propylparaben. So I know this is a first reading, and we talked maybe about rating the first reading, but if we were, I think we should have this as a first reading and still come back to this next month as a second reading, if my colleagues agree. That way I can know that I'm making my decisions. Okay.
Yeah. And Representative Biasucci, could you speak to her question? While we have the expert in the room.
Just for the record, I'm not a doctor or nutritionist, so I'm wrong.
Just play on it.
For the titanium dioxide, this is one that, oddly, the chemical company found me in the hallway, their lobbyist, and said, we'll leave you alone if you just remove titanium dioxide from your list of all these items. I have a great staff. I have great
researchers and interns, and they pulled up this list that I have here that I gave to all of you on the board. I'm happy to share. So the thing with titanium dioxide is they've done studies, and when they do these studies, they do it in petri dishes, and they obviously put the toxin in there, and what they found was it's toxic, but not at high levels. The problem is it stays in your organs permanently. And so the reason why there's so much backlash is that if you continue to eat these things over and over and it continues to stick in your body and it doesn't completely get taken out, eventually you're going to have an excess amount that will be problematic. But with these research, obviously these tests, you don't have 30, 40, 50-year studies that can say, okay, we know for sure in year 50 this is not going to cause liver cancer or whatever. They do know that it does stay in your body and attaches to your organs in small amounts. And they're saying, well, the small amounts aren't toxic. Well, at some point, that will turn into a big amount. And so the data is there. Happy to provide more references if you need them on any of these. Like I said, we did a deep dive on making sure the only ones we included had the data to prove it. And so I'm always happy to put it. And look, like I said before, this list is going to grow. It might even change. Things come off and on when studies happen. And so it's important to know that we understand as a legislature, and we thought about how do we handle that, and we decided, look, we're just going to come back if we need to every few years if things change. I think you're going to see a big change now that RFK Jr. has been brought into the mix. The thing that happened with REC 3 is completely, to me, is criminal. I mean, you have a guy that they said caused skin cancer, but they still let us eat it for 35 years because it was hidden. And the only reason it got changed is because they knew the tide was shifting at the federal level. So I understand you want to make sure that the data is there. I am the same way, and this is why I made this list is smaller instead of having, you can go into seed oils, you can go into all these different things. We didn't do that. But I'm always happy to provide data. You guys obviously are the board. It's your call what you want to do now. This will remain in my list at the state level. So obviously if that passes and as soon as it goes into play in September, you guys can also change it then. So obviously up to you guys to figure that out.
Yeah, this is absolutely wonderful. The fact that we are able to directly affect our food, this is something we have to do. Thank you for speaking on this. Kids get these things in their body, and it goes up to a toxic level, and we do see those behavioral issues. We do see issues down the line. I'm looking at this titanium dioxide nanoparticles. The only purpose of it is for whitening food. What they do to our food is for aesthetics, and so we are putting man-made chemicals in our food for aesthetics or preservative purposes, where it just really shouldn't be there. So, and especially when we believe the FDA was acting in our best interest, like you said, we can't blame people. We thought we had a government body that protected us, and we now know that they were not acting in our best interest, especially when all of these are banned in Canada. You don't get the toxic levels of these. So I think going forward tonight is fine. If it was just these two that you had concerns with, I think the basis for whitening food, strengthening dough, resisting rust, these are chemical additives to assist in the ultra-processed food process. So I have no problem getting them out tonight.
Mr. Vice President, and I do want to point out that you mentioned before, the good news is 98% of the food list that's in the catalogs does not have any of this stuff. That's the great news. And you are correct, Mr. Houston. A lot of these, almost all these things are for aesthetics, right? Like you're right. Titanium dioxide, literally all it does is whiten the food. So it's not like this is a nutritional benefit to you to have this in your item. So you don't need it in there. Yeah. And there are alternatives. So I agree you go that route if you can. Play safe like Europe and everybody else does. Unfortunately, we don't do that in the United States, but hopefully that changes.
I'd like to see high fructose corn syrup added to it.
A whole other conversation I'm happy to talk about.
Small dose.
Another day.
Thank you. And, I'm willing to move forward and even waive second reading on this tonight. This is a bill that I was in Education Committee when this passed, Education Committee, and I can tell you from being there and having an opportunity to speak to legislators on both sides of the aisle, this is going to pass legislation 100%. And I'm very proud that it's our representative that has championed this. And I'm proud that we get to be a district and we get to be in line with what is coming down the road with state law. Also in conversations with our provider, these are things that they really don't have in their goals anyway. So we're already, as a district, in alignment, even with the two items that Member Ramon is in question of. We do not have those currently in our product. And so waiving second reading tonight or not voting is, I'm opposed to that. Thank you.
I'm not quite ready to vote yet. I would like to talk about, I assume that boosters would not be affected by this because, like, our concession stands aren't held during school hours.
Correct.
Okay. And then what about, our schools often host events like Grandparents' Day, where things like cookies are brought in. They have to be store-bought, but they're brought in, and then they're served to students and their families. Are we including that, or are we saying only the things that are sold or served by our food service?
Ms. Faith, can you speak to that, please, yourself, Chris?
My thing is just for food we produce. If someone drops something, then we're not going to go into policing every item that enters the district.
Representative Asuci, can you speak to that? Because that will be in the law as well.
Mr. President, obviously, it's up to you guys. You're doing your own thing. In my bill, it's very clear that we're not stopping parents from providing their child with what they want. I still believe in parental choice, and if they want to give their child a bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos, have at it. That's their choice. It's their child. This is talking about the food that you are providing.
Yeah.
So I think you are safe to say that if you have some kind of school party and they want to bring something to the child, cupcakes, I mean, I don't know if you want to get down to that nitty-gritty and getting that strict on it, but I will say that in our bill we're saying within school hours, but the parent, if they provide it, we're not stopping that.
And this policy would mimic that. So thank you.
Well, it's a school milk providers and vendors, so it does not add any definition outside of it.
I put to remind you about that, and I have to do one more thing about that.
Absolutely.
I was wondering if we can add, or if we want to add a clause for self-report. I know food service is a big industry, and there's hundreds of products that come into our kitchens every week with different product codes, and there's potential for human error. So can we put in a clause there that says that our food administrator can self-report without penalty? I mean, the way it's worded now, it kind of sounds a little bit mistrustful.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, actually. There was talk of what happens if schools are not complying with this law, assuming it's passed inside of the governor. We did not go the route of penalty. We went the route of ADE is going to provide a form to the schools and say, and really it's saying, are you complying to this law? If you are, we're going to post it on the ADE website, but this school is in compliance. If you're not, we're going to let the parents do what parents do. If they find out that school is not complying, because we know what mama bears will do if they're not complying with these things. So my personal recommendation is you kind of do the same thing, right? You kind of do that, the self-check. Putting a penalty isn't going to do anything. The whole point is let's encourage, and we made the ADE for the same thing that we'd agreed on. Your ADE's job is to encourage schools, help them get there. Like, how do you get to this point where these foods are out that we know are toxic? Let's help you get to that point, and then we will report on who's doing it and who's not, and let the parents figure it out now if they want their child in that school or not.
All right. Thank you.
How would you want that?
Yeah, and we can add that in our motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way it's written right now, it says, any violations of this policy will result in legal and corrective action and the federal termination of contract with license vendors.
It does make it, I'll read it again just in case for the viewers. Any violations of this policy will result in immediate corrective actions and potential termination of contracts with non-compliant vendors. So it does make it sound like one strike and you're out to me.
So we could say, non-compliant or vendors or food service members may self-report without, without correction will be made, but without risk of termination.
Can we add that in?
So at the end of the sentence, any violation of this policy will result in immediate corrective actions and potential termination of contract with non-compliant vendors. However, vendors may self-report without fear of termination.
Okay. Great. All right, we need a motion.
We already have a motion in a second.
Okay, we vote on that. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And now at this time, I would like to motion to waive second reading of this policy.
A second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Right. We are officially the first school district to have this policy. Thank you. Item 6.2, staff compensation. Lisa Ramon, Member Ramon is going to be reading this evening. And then okay.
Okay, so the district continues to strive toward better overall staff compensation. The governing board will consider the following changes to the current salary schedule. We will be increasing all salary schedules by 6 steps, and steps will be paid to recognize longevity as follows. And we'll leave a bunch of dollar amounts. So steps 0 through 4, actually I'm going to do all the salaried workers first. So salaried workers, steps 0 through 4 would be 1,000. Steps 5 through 9, 1,250. Steps 10 through 14, 1,500. Steps 15 through 19, 1,750. And steps 20 and more, and this is inclusive of PREO, would be 2,000. For our hourly workers, steps 0 through 4 would be an increase of 50 cents. Steps 5 through 9, 63 cents. Steps 10 through 14, 75 cents. Steps 15 through 19, 88 cents. And steps 20 or more, inclusive of PREO, would be $1. For our administration, steps 0 through 4 would be an increase of 1,500. Steps 5 through 9 would be an increase of 1,875. Steps 10 through 14 would be 2,250. Steps 15 through 19 would be 2,625. And steps 20 and more, inclusive of PREO, would be 3,000. For our supervisors, steps 0 through 4 would be 1,250. Steps 5 through 9 would be $1,562.50. Steps 10 through 14 would be $1,875. Steps 15 through 19 would be $2,187.50. And steps 20 and more, inclusive of PREO, would be $2,500. For our salaried support workers, steps 0 through 4 would be $1,150. Steps 5 through 9 would be $1,437.50. Steps 10 through 14 would be $1,725. Steps 15 through 19 would be $2,012.50. Steps 20 and above, inclusive of PREO, would be $2,300.
I motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, at this time, we will open it up for board discussion. I am very excited about this agenda item this evening. This is something that this new board is very passionate about, and whenever I started working on this, I reached out to Lisa, to Member Ramon, and said, I want you to come alongside me on this because she is the longevity board member here in the district, and I believe in partnership. And I believe in partnership, and we're a team, and we must work together. This is something that she has also been passionate about with her previous board members, and so we came together and we met with our teachers association here in the district, and said, look, let's do this, and we brought the superintendent in, as well as business services and HR. This has been a team effort, and it's something that's been a long time coming. Our employees matter. Without you, from the janitor to the bus driver, to the person that answers the phone, to our maintenance staff, to our facility management team, to our office staff, to our parapros, and most importantly to our teachers, our principals, and our administrators. We're a family, and you matter. Without you, without people, this district would not succeed, would not be here, and would not have the opportunity to be, in my opinion, on the way to be the greatest district in the state of Arizona. That is the goal of this board. but we need to take care of our people. And so I'm very excited about this, and it's just a start. But I want you to know, all of you, that you matter. Whatever your position is in this district, we are thankful for you, and we want you to stay. We want you to come back, and know that your voice to this board matters. We are available, and know that we always have an open door policy to you. So tonight, I'm honored to present this to this board. Any other discussion from the board?
I also want to make sure that our local education association receives thanks. They deserve a lot of credit for working with us.
Yes, they do. And to add to that, whenever Carol and Joel came to the table, they felt a sense of relief to know that this was something that all of us are passionate about. And I just want us to honor them for a moment, because this is something teachers, they have been working, and staff. And I want to say this, that when they came to the table, I know they're the Teachers Association, but they were very clear, this needs to be for all staff, because everybody matters. So please give them that.
This was fantastic work, Lisa, Dave, getting this there, because this was one of the main concerns we had. This is one of the main concerns of the district. How do we keep people? How do we retain people? Well, when you can have a competitive wage of in and out, better hours, and things like that, it's hard to get people to stay and work. This is the right step in the right direction. If you want a good price, you have to pay the price for it. And investing in the people in our district is how we produce that product. So thank you to everybody here. And this, again, this is the start. We hope we can bring more of this type of action for you. Yeah.
Any other board discussion before I open up to the public?
Well, I did want to point out, so this proposal is based on a certain assumption of risk by our board. So this proposal is sustainable for between 2 and 3 years with what we currently have. Beyond that, we are relying on a couple of ifs and unknowns. So the first if would be if we can get an override to pass locally in 2026. And then the second if would be the Proposition 123 changes that Mr. Diocese mentioned. Yeah. So we want this to be a long-term, sustainable salary schedule, and it is for the next couple of years, but beyond that, we are going to be relying on our community to keep it sustainable. And I feel like, you can say what your priorities are, but how you spend your time and how you spend your money proves what you actually value. I think that this salary increase is a way of our board showing that we do value what we say we value. We value teachers, we value all of our staff, we want to be able to attract the best and the brightest, and so this is consistent with that.
Absolutely, and I want to speak to a future override. Just so we're all together in session so I can do this. I've already begun having meetings with key players who were part of the last override. Members of our community who were champions of that, such as Steve Greeley. And we are already casting vision and working of what that looks like, and I'll be putting together a committee to work on that as well. Some of the things I've already had discussion with member Rahman as we were working on this salary increase was smaller classroom sizes. And being able smaller classroom sizes to be able to hire more teachers. If we're going to set the standard for the nation, we got to do it the right way. And we can get the community involved. This is a community that loves kids and loves teachers, and so I'm excited to begin to work on that.
And to the directors on that, just as we are doing these types of things, I'm really interested in want to keep the data on retention, on the teacher spotting, on those interviews and things like that. Are potential candidates saying, ooh, you guys have an attractive pay scale. So those are the things, especially as we go to that 26 deadline and things. These are the types of things and facts and figures that when we bring forth an override, say, look, this is the money speaks. We brought people in. We had better retention. We had better test scores. And that's what we were hoping to bring in that. So collecting that data and moving forward, we can be successful keeping this place up. Because I really like the way you said that. This is what matters. We are going to put our money where our mouth is, and we said we were bringing raises to teachers, and we're doing it.
At this time, I would like to open up call to public on this agenda item. Would someone please shorten the mic for Ms. Bonte? All right, there you go. Oh, okay.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
I'm Christina Bonson. I've worked at Thunderbolt Middle School for 6 years. My passion is teaching. I came from being a manager at a bank before I started working as a teacher. As you can imagine, I was a pay cut. And now I have 2 young children. One's in the district, he's 5. The other is 3. I pay $200 a week for her to go to school, so I can still teach my children, and I call them my children in my home. So I just want to say thank you for considering this and putting this on the board, because my husband's working his butt off right now to support us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Christina Musselman, and I am a teacher of the district with a lot of longevity. I've been here. This is my 21st year in the district. And I want to say that this is the first time in a long time that I can go home and proudly say to my husband that we are getting a contract that is going to have something added to our base. My husband is a firefighter. He has only been in the service for 14 years, and he has by far, as you can imagine, surpassed me. And I have a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, and we just have not been paid what we have been able to be competitive with in the state. And what I want to thank you more so is because I am in that year 21 and I am on that downhill slide, is thank you for bringing our base pay to $50,000 so that we can attract teachers that are invested in our district, that want to serve our students and want to learn from the best, because we do have the best in this district. And I think it's a little deceiving. I'm just going to point out to the public when they're looking at that. We have friends that are like, is that enough? Is that okay with you? When you see 6 steps, every one of us are going to go down 6 steps. So we're all going to get 6 steps in addition to that longevity. The longevity is based on steps, not years. So when you look at the year, if you're thinking of a year 10 teacher, they're not necessarily on step 10. So there is still room for teachers to grow. But I just want to thank you for also allowing us not only the opportunity to make that base change, but also thinking that our district, as we need all staff, we need our paras, all the way up to our admin, and we could not do this job without them. So we appreciate you making sure that all staff are represented in this. So thank you. Alrighty. Hi, my name is Sage Best. I started teaching in our district in January of 2020. What a year. My husband is a Lake Havasu City firefighter and has been for over 18 years. We both grew up in Lake Havasu Unified School District since kinder all the way to high school, and we're both LHHS alumni. We have 3 children, one at Oregon Valley Classical Academy, one at Thunderbolt Middle School, and one at the high school. I would like to think that we are very invested in serving our community as well as watching it grow. I would like to start by saying thank you to our local AEA representatives for preparing this, and to the board and our administration for allowing us to discuss it. There are many professionals in our district who work hard to meet the needs of students every day, but there are also moms and their dads and grandparents and coaches and tutors and business owners and volunteers. Having an increase in salary pay will be incredibly beneficial, not just for my family, but for all teachers. And it doesn't even stop there. This will benefit the much-needed retention of paraprofessionals, counselors, occupational therapists, speech and language pathologists, and psychologists, along with the many other important positions that we must have filled to meet the needs of our students. But most importantly, this will impact students. And I know it will, and that's why we are all here. Thank you.
any more for the call to the public? Seeing none, I will close and we'll bring it to it. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
At this time, I motion to waive second reading and move as presented. Okay, we're good. I was just making sure. Yeah. All right, moving on to item 6.3, budget review. Member, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Dave. And this is something that we had talked about on the campaign, is that when we step in as board, we're going to make sure all things are uncovered and we have a good picture going forward. So in our commitment to transparency in all areas, the governing board will engage with Briscoe Consulting Group to conduct a comprehensive analysis of operational revenues and financial management mechanisms as a standard external review. The process is advantageous for the district at any point in the fiscal year, regardless of the current level of financial health. This analysis provides an in-depth review of financial inflows and outflows, budget controls, and optimization opportunities. It helps ensure financial practices are transparent, aligned with the district goals, and presented in a way that is understandable to all stakeholders. Briscoe Consulting Group has over 20 years of experience in management operations and financial oversight. Everything is guided by one principle: working in the best interest of children. Specifically, Briscoe Consulting Group supports public school systems in achieving financial transparency, strategic alignment, and operational excellence. Mr. Briscoe has collaborated with school board members and administrators to enhance their understanding of public school finance and foster interagency cooperation. Briscoe Consulting Group specializes in providing external financial reviews that deliver clarity, actionable insight, and practical strategies tailored to the needs of school districts. The work is centered on empowering all stakeholders, school board members, administrators, and community members with a deeper understanding of school business. There will be a focus on producing reports that are clear, accessible, and designed to benefit everyone who relies on the information for decision-making regardless of their financial background.
At this time, we'll call for a motion. I motion to accept the budget review.
I second.
I now open up for discussion from the board. I first want to say that we are incredibly thankful for our business and service department. This review is not because we think there is issues in that department. This review is based on we want transparency to the community. That is something that we believe in, the district believes in. This is bringing an extra pair of eyes who is a professional, works with school districts around the nation, to just maybe point out some things that our district didn't think about. So this, again, is, we don't believe there's any issues. We are so thankful for Mr. Murray and his team and what they do for this district. And, again, this is something for us to offer more transparency to the community and to come back as a board and along with our directors as we're talking vision to move forward and be able to use as a tool. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your help. Thank you. Any other discussion?
I have two questions. So who chose Briscoe and how was that company chosen?
Briscoe was contacted through our National School Boards Association that we work with. Dr. Stone, our superintendent, spoke with them. They have put out, and there's certain areas of expertise that are very limited, and this is one of them. School finances is very, as Mr. Murray will tell you, is very difficult, and there's a lot of federal laws and state laws that must be met. And so you can't just have any auditor come in or budget finance company come in and look at your finances and know what they're looking for, what they're doing. So this is an organization, Mr. Briscoe, this is exactly his scope of work, and so that's why we're serving.
So this was a recommendation from NSBA or a different organization?
It was a recommendation of NSBA, and after our superintendent spoke with him, she felt comfortable with the company as well. So in a situation like this, what we're really voting on is three things. One
is if we think a budget review is necessary, who we want to provide that service, and how much are we willing to pay for the service. And typically, when you have something, a service that you would like, you request multiple bids, and then the board members are able to discuss those different vendors. Because the price tag for this is below a certain threshold, we do not have to do that. But I will say that only having one choice to choose from as a board member feels like it eliminates half of the choice that I should have as a board member. I should be able to weigh in on the if, the who, and the how much. And in this case, I'm only able to weigh in on the if. I don't disagree that a budget review is needed, and so for tonight, I believe that our district's need for a budget review outweighs my own personal procedural objections to how this is done. But in the future, we talked about how transparency and local control are important to us. And so in the interest of transparency and local control, I would like a menu of choices in the future.
Okay. And just to be clear, the reason this is before you, and to touch on what Member Romano has pointed out, this did not have to be placed on the agenda. This could have just been directed by the superintendent to our business director to move forward with contract. As the president of the board, I requested that she put this on tonight's agenda because, again, this board wants transparency to the community of what we're doing, what's happening. We're not going to operate behind closed doors and hide things from you. So, but I do take on your advisement, your recommendation as well. So thank you, Member Romano.
Yeah, and just, again, Superintendent Stone had interviewed with them and discussed with them, and she felt comfortable. So I feel comfortable based on her recommendation as well as the recommendations from the organization. They are reputable, and I do agree. I would also prefer the process. It does take a little bit longer, maybe a month or so, but it does provide us that extra level of accountability. Right.
So the superintendent, he definitely did mention that to us too, for the fact that it was hard to find the right person because this is a special thing for when it comes to the school. I'm super thankful for Mr. Murray and his graphs and his outlines and how I can just read everything. But having a second pair of eyes won't hurt, especially to help Brian to be able to do more waivers or anything about this. I mean,
I move to approve 6.0. I was going to open up for call. We've already motioned. Yes. Yeah. At this time, we're going to open up for call to the public on this item. All right. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Moving on to item 6.4, curriculum review. In our commitment to transparency in all areas, the governing board will engage with J.C. Adams Consulting to conduct comprehensive curricula and instructional materials review specifically for the combined criteria of accuracy, bias-free content, grade level appropriateness, content richness, effective practices, and classical education elements. This review will provide the board, staff, parents, and our community with information that will inform our curriculum work and the purchase of any additional materials when needed. J.C. Adams Consulting is being procured as a sole source, as no other curriculum auditors reviewed specifically focus on accuracy, bias-free content, and classical education elements. This time, I motion to approve the curriculum review. A second. At this time, we will open it up for discussion. So, first I want to say we're not here tonight to discuss changing curriculum. We're not here tonight. This is not to start questioning how our teachers are teaching in the classroom or to bring any teachers under question. Just so we're aware, J.C. Adams is a former K-12 director from Hillsdale University, and he was their K-12 director for curriculum. In speaking with him, whenever Dr. Stone and I were able to speak with him, his focus is to come in and help train teachers to help find areas that maybe we are lacking. For example, we know that some of our schools, there are areas where testing scores are lower and we need improvement. And so his whole goal is to come in and help make us better. His goal is not to come in here and strip apart our curriculum. His goal is to provide transparency, which is something that we promise to this community and to our parents. And I know that a lot of times our teachers have questioned and having private conversations with teachers. There are teachers who have asked for more training when it comes to certain areas of curriculum and more help. And so that's why this is before us tonight, because we want to be able to provide that transparency, and we want to be able to help our teachers be successful in the classroom and provide the training that you need, and not just have a day hanging out in a boardroom and here's some paperwork for you, but have an expert come in and who's an expert in classical education and can give us direction of how we can improve, give us some direction, and maybe find things that we are not doing well. And so that is the point of this tonight. So thank you. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And during the campaign, one of the things that parents would what is the curriculum? And that was an answer that is still challenging to get. So I really am looking forward to this curriculum audit to finalize and really hone down what our curriculum is, so that if a parent comes and asks, we have something to give them, that they know exactly, and that we know exactly what is going to your children. So this is fantastic.
I have to say, I was one of those parents. That's where I ran on. So it would be nice to be able to have consistency throughout the schools, strengthen them even more.
All right, any other discussion from the board?
So I had the same questions that I had for the last item.
Yeah.
So who chose this vendor? It doesn't say how it was chosen, or what criteria you were looking for, but who chose it?
It was through recommendation of our School Boards Association.
And what was the name of that?
It is the National School Boards Leadership Council.
School Board Leadership Council.
And so they work with school districts across the country. And school board members, the majority of our board is a member of that, was offered to all board members were offered to be a member of that organization. And they give us recommendations based on organizations and contractors that they work with across the nation. And looking at Mr. Adams' resume, extremely impressive. Worked at Hillsdale University a long time and was much part of the K-12 opening whenever they got into the K-12 education. And so we're very excited to invite him into our district. And this is his wheelhouse. Our curriculum is his wheelhouse. And so we're thankful for that.
And then, so we did not receive multiple bids for this because, as it says in the statement, we used sole source because we didn't feel like, or not we, I won't include myself in this because I wasn't included in the decision-making process for it, but you and the NSBLC felt like this was the only, that JC Adams Consulting was the only firm that offered the services based on accuracy, bias-free content, and classical education elements. I wonder if the search parameters might have been a bit too narrow. I'll use an example like this. If I were to say that I want to provide tires for the district, I would have to put out a bid for proposal, and I would probably get, the usual suspects, Goodyear, maybe Michelin, and Pirelli. If I were to put out a bid for proposal, and I said, I want to provide tires for the district, but I only want to use a company where their name starts with a G and ends with an R, that would only leave Goodyear. And so I do feel like this decision was made in such a narrow way that, of course, we only received one company that fit the bill because we didn't open it up broadly enough. And so that would be, again, if we're talking about the if, the who, and the how much, I don't object to a curriculum review being done. So the question of if is already answered for me, but the who and the how much, I would have liked to have had a chance to review or to consider other vendors, and I think that could have been done if it had been opened up a little bit more broadly. And again, it does come back to the transparency piece and the local control piece, because if you're receiving recommendations from an organization that is outside of our community, we are giving up a piece of our local control to do that.
And I appreciate your input, Member Roman. First, all organizations that we would contact are outside of our community, so let me point that out. Number two, you had the opportunity to join this organization as well. That was presented to you by the superintendent, which you did decline. And the superintendent also did do a search herself to see what other organizations were available to provide the same review, and to her report to me, they did not exist. And what is best for what we're looking for when it comes to our specific curriculum. So that's how that was. But I take on your advisement, your comments. Thank you so much. Any other board members? All right. We will now open it up for call to the public. Good evening.
I'm also with Travel Aid Stores. Everyone in my family has a store. Most questions to you, I agree, there's nothing wrong with asking for that to review. But my question to you is, do any participate in any of the opportunities that were given when you did our curriculum review? If you did, as I said, that would be my first one. The next thing I would ask is, our teaching notes and our curriculum is on our website. So seeing that, and I understand, not everyone maybe looks back there for that, but that is the way that you can get to our curriculum. I hear a lot of things, and it comes across as if you need to express that sometimes. I just ask that you guys give us the same consideration, especially when it is their types and opportunities for community members to come and review and look and give their input and say that. We do it every single time. And it's very disheartening as a teacher sometimes, and I'm a mom, okay, but to have these meetings for curriculum review and to show the different experts and not have the community planning. And I appreciate that you are wanting to review. But like I said, I'd like to know how many of you have taken out opportunity meetings and it's just something to consider. And I do agree that there are some other responses that we could contact. We are in an anomaly because it's very white, middle class, rural area. But we do have some options. So like I said, I just please take into consideration that people can the weather is always there with the parents in the community. I'm not something that needs to be remembered with the rest of that. And I'm pleased to be
You're doing a great job.
I'm going to pull out of myself and put 2,000 kids in our public Sunday, so this is terrifying. So just, that needs to be realized. We don't remember that. But we do offer this in opportunities, and a lot of times you don't get anything from the community and the public and the family, but they are also the first point to come out about things. It's like that. It's like the cycle. So just, remember that those things, those opportunities are there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Do we wait to the end to say something?
No, we don't. Yeah, we wait to the end.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Katie Roberts. I'm a superintendent at High School. I've been teaching here in the district. This is my teacher. Yes, thank you. I'm also an LHS alumni. Grew up here since I was 8 years old. I only have a clarifying question. When it says that you're looking for classical education elements, will that only be applying to the curriculum at Oro Grande, or are we also looking at that at the high school and the middle school? And then if we are looking for classical educational elements in those areas, as of right now, I know that at the high school we have not
at least in our department area, we talked about classical education being introduced at the high school level. Is that something that then we're using this to use moving forward?
This is to inform our decision on curriculum, on how to look at the areas in our curriculum where there are holes, and fill those holes, or areas in our curriculum that we're doing successful, and make sure all across the district that it's being successful. Thank you.
Please tell us this classical educational elements, I believe, are not required at the middle school and high school. Right?
So Orlando Classical Academy is our only classical education as that is a teaching style. However, all of our schools use core knowledge, which is foundational at many classical schools up through 8th grade.
My one question would be for transparency, if this conversation, I understand the discussion, could we table the vote tonight? And could there be an opportunity for a special work session where all four of you would be able to be in attendance with staff that wants to come and speak, to where we could share with you what our curriculum actually is? Because the terminology of Hillsdale Classical Academy, or the classical curriculum for all of us, we know when they do the audit or the review. I've already spoken with President Rose and Mrs. Kinsley about this. They're going to find that we are not in compliance because 5 of the 6 elementary schools were not under that same transfer to the Classical Academy. That was supposed to be special to Oro Grande to offer something different to our families who wanted that. And so I just want to know if there's an opportunity where teachers, we can share with you, this is the curriculum that we use, this is how we use it, this is how we were trained, and have that transparency before bringing someone in to tell us what we already know. So, thank you.
Good evening.
Welcome. Hi there. I'm Brian Zemetel. I teach USSD at the high school. This is my 27th year, and I've taught this week most of all those years. I just want to say, in all those years, I don't think I've ever come across any content that was non-biased. So, good luck finding that material. One of the skills that we teach our students is, while reading history and reading the news and things like that, is to be able to identify bias and to be able to check sources and be able to understand that. So I tell my students, don't take anything I'm saying for granted or as gospel, double check. And I just want to make a note about that, and it's one of the great skills that we need to all learn. And but as far as finding bias-free,
Thank you. All right.
My name is Crystal, and I'm just a mom. I raised 4 boys, 3 have graduated. I've never had an issue with the curriculum. But to me, like sitting back and listening, it seems like it's assignment versus the actual curriculum that becomes a question. Because the curriculum is there. You can tell it. The teachers give it to us. Now, your consulting group, do they look at across the nation? Are they versed in Arizona and what we have to be teaching our kids? And the bias thing going back to the history teacher, finding a non-biased content, if you're going to teach us this part, you're taking away their critical thinking. They need that. So, that was on me.
Thank you. All right. Any more calls in the public? All right. We'll bring it back to the board for discussion and then a vote. I want to say this. I'm not willing to pass this on. This is something that parents have asked for, and we're going to provide that to parents. But again, I want to explain, please, this is not a gotcha moment for teachers. This is not us trying to find problems with you or how you teach. This is us as a board wanting to equip you to help make you and this district better. I can tell you I did have a meeting and shared with our Teachers Association that we were looking at this and ran this by Carol. And she had some questions, we answered them, and we're here to partner with you. This isn't, I just want to be very clear, this isn't the board versus everybody else. This isn't the board versus teachers. And understand not every decision that we make you're going to be happy with, but we also represent parents as well. Tonight, this board met the wishes of every employee and fought with you and partnered with you to give you a great raise because you deserve it. And just as you deserve a great raise as an employee of this district, our parents deserve the things they're asking for, and that is transparency from this district. And so I plan to move forward with this tonight. Thank you.
Did you like it all, the idea of having a work session so we could meet with teachers and make sure that what we think we're looking for is actually what we're looking for?
So here's where I'm at, and I think, Ms. Musselman, thank you for bringing that up. I think voting on this, I plan to move forward with this, but I would love to still have a work session. We're a team. I want to be very clear. As you know, I've been visiting some of your schools as well as some of the other board members. This board is here to partner with you. Again, we're not here to point fingers at you and say, you're doing this wrong and we need to do this. We're here to find how we can improve as a district and bring our scores up. Let me be very transparent. We have got some scores in this district that are very alarming. I'm just going to be very clear. And this board is committed to helping equip our student achievement department and our teachers to fix that. And we can't do that if we don't move forward in these areas. Again, it's not always fun, but it's necessary. And we owe this as a district to our parents as well. So thank you.
So I don't disagree with the necessity, but I do disagree with the urgency. If we tabled it for tonight and had a work session, we could still vote on it in the March meeting, or we could even hold a special session if we wanted to and vote on it if you felt that we needed to go forward as soon as possible. So I think having a work session would give us a chance to clarify what we even are looking for when we contract with this venue. It's $28,000 at least for this service to our district, and so don't we want to know what we're even in the market for before we put out this kind of money?
Mr. Vice President.
I tend to go with David on this. I have no problem with setting work sessions in order, please. I have no problem setting work sessions. In fact, I would like to do that and getting up front with us and the teachers and establishing those things as this moves forward. I think it only helps the process. But again, when you are taking over a board, you are coming in and being responsible for the district. And part of that responsibility is making sure you understand what you have in front of you. This company has come highly recommended from our organization that we are partnered with. Dr. Stone found them to be highly credible. I find them to be highly credible. I do understand that non-bias and some of these criteria, they are goals and metrics they're looking at. It does not mean that us going forward, we're instilling a non-bias criteria. Obviously, there's bias in everything we do. But having some of these metrics to look where are we at and how are we doing these things is important. So I personally are also going forward with it.
And I do want to ask one more question. Yeah. What scope are you considering? Are you considering every single elementary, our middle school, and our high school? And are you also considering all of the electives at our high school? Or are you just considering content areas like English, social studies at all of the schools?
Correct, yeah.
That's it? English and social studies?
Yeah. I believe at this point that's what we've been providing.
Do you have some input?
Yeah, my understanding was what is being taught to our students across the board. Because we have questions of different elementary schools teaching different things. Whether or not that's happening, we want to understand that. Because whether or not the teachers think that's happening, parents think that is happening. And we are the representative of the parents and of the community. And one of the main questions I had, and it's a conflict. Some teachers say everything's great, it's fine, people in the district, but the perception by many parents is that there's issues.
Okay, at this time, just for transparency, Dr. Festadego, if you could help with that, please.
What I'm reading in this document is that there is a transparency review for primary district-wide resources. So that would be K through 6, all of the resources, inclusive of all of the different areas. And then there would be a quality analysis specifically for social studies and literature, K-12. And then there would be new resource vetting moving forward for all subjects and library materials. And can I ask a question for clarification? I will be honest.
I can provide all of the questionable things, but I do think the board has said we want to do this work. It was pretty clear in the election, and so I think as long as the board says we know that there's going to be things, and I think as teachers we say we know that we want to abide by community standards, then we can have the discussion of, you know what, this nice gentleman found this, but we really understand that this piece of literature is important for this reason, but the discussion is there. That moves us forward.
I want to comment, and thank you, Dr. Festadego. And your comment alone is the very reason that we are having this discussion tonight, that you could provide the questionable things. And so that tells me as the president of this board that we've not done our job to be transparent with, to be transparent with teachers, to be transparent with our community, to be transparent with parents. And that's unacceptable. And as a district, transparency in curriculum is key. We should never, ever have anything that is questionable being taught. So that's my reason for this. So.
Can I just clarify about questionable? So just thinking about, like, Odysseus, I mean, thinking about things of violence and understanding. And so I'm not suggesting that there are things, but knowing in historical documents, we all have different room for what makes us uncomfortable. And I do think it's extremely important. And we do that work of communicating with families about every single story that we talk about, all of that work. You know, people have different feelings about historical events. And so I didn't mean questionable, but things that are.
But again, the point of this, and I've said this a couple times now, is we're not bringing our teachers into question. We are simply saying we want to improve as a district. And I don't think we should have a problem with that. I think that us wanting to improve as a district should be key for all of us in this room. Everyone here loves kids. We all love kids, and all of you that teach, you love teaching, or you would not be a teacher. And so the point of this is us coming together. I'm open to discussing your position, but I just want to be clear that a review is happening because it is what is needed to make us the best district ever, and partnering together. So I just want to clarify that with everyone in the room tonight. I'm sorry, the call to the public is going to close.
I absolutely want this. I'm sorry. I absolutely want this review done. I'm just going to be blunt. As a parent, I did ask teachers. I did get in there. Did I go over the books? Not 100%, because I put trust in my teachers. Not the thing that there wasn't trust. The thing is some of those teachers will say, we are a Hillsdale curriculum. Are we? We're not? That's true, because other parents, though, still think right now to this day that we are. Because teachers said this.
Okay.
One school. Okay. I do have just one more thing to say.
Yeah.
So I will be voting no tonight on this because this is not an emergency. This is important, but it's not an emergency. And I feel like we had the very sensible suggestion to hold a work session. As you can hear from this room, regardless of whether you think you are representing parents, there are a lot of parents in this room that do not agree with you here, and probably broader in the community. And if you're going to say that you're taking parent concerns into account, that means all the parents' concerns, not just the ones who spoke to you on the campaign trail. And so I will be voting no, not because I do want a curriculum review. I just want it done the correct way, especially since we are spending $28,000 of our money to do this. It needs to be done carefully and correctly, not hastily.
All right, at this time, I'm actually going to motion to take this into executive session.
I'll second.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. discussion at this time. I'd like to discuss this contract that we have. Okay. Yeah. Second. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So this contract does cost our district. Where is it? Top page. First, second page. Second page. So this, I believe, was also because it comes in installments, was something that did not have to come before this board tonight and take a vote. The reason that I requested this to be done, and we went into executive session because I thought we had to discuss the contract privately, so that's on me. But we want transparency. That's why this is on the agenda. I don't ever want this community, our teachers, our staff, to feel that we were hiding things from you that we were doing. I believe in working together. I believe in partnership. Those things are important, not just with teachers, but with parents. And we have to do what is right for this district. When we look at our test scores, all of you in the classroom, you're doing your best. You're doing your best with what you've been given. And I want to make sure that that us as a district, that we're giving you the best option available to you. So that was the whole reason of this. This, again, I just want to clarify. We're not trying to bring an outside source to come in here and tear this district apart, to find aha moments, to say, teachers, we got you. That's not this. This is us bringing transparency to everybody, to our parents that have questioned things. And I understand people can get a little out of control on social media with things. Believe me, I know. But we owe this community transparency when things are in question. And so that's my statement. At this point, I'm going to close the session.
I just have one more thing to say. Then can you answer the question, why does this need to be voted on tonight before a work session is conducted?
And I guess my opinion is, even if we get to a work session, we bring the whole district together, and there is a discourse. And I think we should have that regardless. I think we do this together as much as we can. We do this a month. We're still going to have the same desire to do this. If it's coming from the district, the information, I want an outside source of information. Because these are my eyes on this, as the authority on this board. And not to say, in a legal sense, it's a conflict of interest. The district that I'm seeking to review and seeking to have authority over is the one then providing me the information that I'm seeking and asking. So if I still have questions, those questions will need to be answered by an outside source. And at the end of the day, we have parents in the community that don't have these answers. I have talked to teachers, and I have not got these answers to them. Has it been in a work session? No. But I don't think that a work session is going to answer all my questions. And so at this time, based on the recommendations of this organization in this program, who gave it, Dr. Stone's recommendation, I do believe moving forward is appropriate. I want to have this work session, and I understand some of the pushback. But it is, in my opinion, as an attorney, as a board member, I want this for my understanding, for my ability to govern this board, and as a vote on this board for the education of the board. And that's where I stand.
And I want to say this, and then I'm going to call for a vote, is we have accountability to the voters of this community, but not just that, we are held accountable on a state level. There are bills that are coming down the pipeline that hold school board members on a higher level of accountability than ever before. Because everything that happens in this district, from curriculum to our buildings maintenance to how our employees are treated, how our money is spent, at the end of the day, the 5 people that sit in these seats are the ones held accountable by the state of Arizona. And we're going to do our best and offer everybody the best to be the best teacher, to offer the best curriculum, and that means sometimes we may vote on things, and there may be disagreements. When you walk out of here tonight, I don't want you to hate us. I want you to understand that we care about our teachers, we care about our classrooms, that we want to partner with you. And that is important to us. Partnership as a district is important between the board and those of you that are in the trenches every single day. And so I'm
The question that I'm asking, and I hope I didn't get a straight answer, why does this vote need to happen before a work session is held? That's all I want to know. Why does this have to happen tonight instead of 2 weeks from now?
Well, once we, it would be actually in March.
If we move to the March meeting, but we don't necessarily have to do that either.
Again, doing the work session, I'd love to do it. I don't think it's going to answer all my questions. So it's, in essence, it could be 2 weeks down the line, but that's now 2 weeks down the line that we're not engaging in these contracts moving forward. That's 2 more roads to the To me, it does not strike that the work session is going to resolve our issues and we're not going to do this. It's just going to be 2 weeks down the line. We're going to spend several hours in an executive or a work session, more comment, more things, and we're still going to do this. There is curriculum issues in this district that I have spent the last year in the campaign, as we've entered into the board. I'm continuously getting comments on the curriculum. And for me, it's a yes vote today because this is something I promised, this is something I said I was going to do, and I'm going to be a man of my word, and I'm going to vote yes on it.
And that goes for me. We promised this, and you may not be happy with our promise, and you're not always, again, going to be happy with our decisions, but we're going to do what we said we were going to do. And so I'm ready to move for a vote at this time. Yes. Yes.
No.
No.
Moving to item 7.1, Superintendent.
In Dr. Chen's absence, I'd just like to express my appreciation for the 3 high school students who were here this evening. I think that speaks volumes as to not only them as individuals, but to perhaps their parents, the community, for sure, the teachers in their lives. I know the 3 of them are well connected and have been throughout their elementary, middle school, and their high school experience. There have been many of you, some of you in this very room, who have made an impact in each of their lives, or at least in one of their lives. I was impressed. I sat here as an observer from the side and just really impressed with who they are as far as trying to, again, be a representative of that Lighthouse team and to engage with adults is just extremely impressive. And I know that there are countless others who are not here tonight that equally could have lined up behind them and did what we just witnessed tonight. So on behalf of an employee of the district, a community member, a parent, a husband, just me as an individual, I'm extremely proud of them and for each of you, and for the board to be able to accept their invitation and welcome them in. I think that it speaks volumes to who we are as a community and as a school district. So, thank you.
Yes, and I join you in that. And they had actually approached us when we had our work session on the calendar. They had boldly come up on stage and engage with me. And I actually told them I would like to discuss opening up a student spot for them in the Spotlight and Recognition section, just like we have for the Education Association. I would like every time we have a meeting, we have a spot for those bold students to come and speak to us. So I would like to have that opened up for them and have that as a permanent part of our board meeting.
And if I could just add a little further too, that's happening at the elementary level. I witnessed it at an elementary school, at Nautilus Elementary School. I was a observer right there in the moment with a preschool student who gave part of a school-wide tour to 5 or 6 complete strangers amongst other district administrators and teachers. But I was just extremely impressed with watching that happen, and I think that is something we need to focus more on. Is just recognizing the fact that they can actually speak to an individual, to an adult, and carry on a conversation without looking at a device. So it was just impressive. It starts at 4 years old.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to 7.2, governing board members, comments and or suggestions for future agenda items. I'm going to start tonight by saying I appreciate every member on this board. There is going to be times that we don't agree, but please do not take that as we are not in unity and that we're not committed to working together. And if we all thought the same and had the same look on everything, we would it'd be a pretty boring life. And so I'm very thankful for every member, for Lisa, who has been a long-term member on this board, and I'm thankful for our directors. And there are things that we may not always agree on and see eye to eye on, but these are directors that are committed to the success of this district. All three of our directors have committed their life to Lake Havasu Unified School District, and we are thankful for that commitment. And teachers, staff that are here tonight, I'm excited that you got a win and that you got a pay raise, and that you deserve it, and we are thankful for you. And your voice matters. I want you to know, those of you sitting in this audience or watching online, whether you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a staff member in some capacity, you always have a voice in this district with this board. Even if we agree to disagree, your voice does matter to us, and we appreciate you. That's all I have. Thank you. Any other board members?
Well, just to go along with that, we had 4 decisions to make, and we agreed unanimously on 3 of them, so 75%, that's pretty good.
It's a big win.
Well,
And just one more thing, I can't believe I forgot to say this at our last meeting, but I love our new setup, and I want to thank the people who made it possible. We have our laptop set up with our agenda already pre-filled on it, and I just want to thank the IT team and the people who made this possible.
And Lisa, I just want to commend you and thank you. You know, the campaign was heated. 3 of us, obviously, was Maggie. You're the lone board member left. And I have appreciated your grace in helping us in things, open meeting laws, just the executive session type stuff. I've appreciated your candor and your grace in this type of thing. So it's been a pleasure working with you. So I thank you, Mary, for getting on the sports athletic. Thanks for giving me those numbers. Thanks for giving me those next ones. And just I want to thank you for the agenda, or if you need whatever the calendar is, Mr. President, for getting that student spotlight.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I already have a student, I think, from Miss Bagby's class, but I will be reaching out to her for that. But I want to say this, to kind of go off what Matt said, the campaign was heated, and as it can be. And there were times that member Ramon and I would go at each other in a very professional, candid way, and people were like, oh my gosh, these two are not going to be able to work together. It's going to be horrible. And I just want to say, it's been fun. Her and I have built a relationship over this last month, and again, we don't always agree, but it's been great, and I'm honored to sit on this board with her, and I want her and I to be able to be the example that differences can come together and make a difference. So, thank you.
Differences can come together and make a pay raise.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, no, absolutely. Representative Biasucci.
We're done here. I do want to get a picture for Dr. Agreement.
Yeah.
If you had a chance to do that, I think it was photo about the casting day just pull up in there. I love you doing it.
Yeah, well, if you got his number, tell him to work on that federal smart snack. We'll get our say on that.
All right. At this time, item 8.1, I need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second. Yes. Matthew Houston?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you for being here.